In this video, we will understand the role of network externalities in the demand. Usually, we think that summing up the individual demands can give us the market demand. It does, but in that process, we consider that the demands, they are independent. However, it's not so, because in real life, the decisions made by some individuals can affect the decisions made by the other individuals, because people, they are social animals and they look at each other, they have social interaction, and they try to compare or contrast themselves from others. So these are known as network externalities, because networking is there among the human beings, and how they affect the other people is what makes them externalities. In real life, these decisions, they are taken, and these decisions are influenced by these network externalities, which can be either positive or negative. When these network externalities are positive, we call them bandwagon effect, because in a bandwagon there are people who are joining the bandwagon. There is some instrument playing process in it, and people join it. So this is a process in which people are led by others, they are influenced by others. So this is why we use the term bandwagon effect. Whereas some people who avoid the routine liking of the other people, the goods that the other people are buying, if they are avoiding those goods and they want to be exclusive, it means that they are under the snob effect, which is a negative network externality, because it is going to repel them from the usual thinking of the people and the usual liking of the people. So let's focus on the first one, which is the bandwagon effect, and in that we can try to understand it with the help of a diagram, which will be seen right after this array of postulates. However, in simple words, we can say that it is led by animal spirits, because people, they are influenced by others, they try to follow others, due to which we can say the bandwagon effect will exist. One of the ways in which it can be triggered is the celebrity effect, because when a celebrity uses a commodity or adopts something or endorses it, it is going to entice the usual people, the masses, to adopt that thing as well, because they are usually the followers, they look up to those celebrities. So this is another way in which this bandwagon effect can take place. Now we are considering a diagram in which we have quantity demanded on x-axis and price on y-axis, just like a usual demand we have, and we have three demand functions, that is d1, d2 and d3. All of them, they are there showing their individual groups that are having certain preferences, the first group, the second group and the third group. They have their own slopes, and there is another demand curve which is intersecting them at point A, C and E. This is represented by dm, which stands for the market demand curve, and we will see how it is having less slope in this case. So let's start with the first point that we have. It is the point A, at which the price is 100 and the quantity demanded is 2000. But if the price falls to 80, the same group of people, that is D1 followers, they demand for a higher quantity, that is 2500. Now following these people, the other group, that is D2, will also go for this product, because they are becoming a part of the bandwagon effect. They are following them, the people in the first group. Moreover, the price has fallen, due to which they are more enticed to follow this trend or fashion that is there. It can be a commodity or any other service that is being gone for. Now at C we can see the demand by the people in this group is 4,000, and this is the equilibrium price. Let us assume that the price further falls, and if it falls to 60 for example, the same people in this certain demand pattern, they will go for a higher quantity demanded as compared to 4,000, and that will be 5,500. Now considering these points, that is 5,560, we can say that these people are now benefiting from the fall in the price, which is now 60 instead of 80. Now the bandwagon effect will attract the people with these preferences, that is the people having the demand curve D3. These people will also be attracted towards this trend, and they will also go for it. Considering a certain level of price, which is 60, they will have this much of the demand for that certain good, which is 8,000 in this case. So here we have summarized all of it. What we have observed is DM is flatter. It means that it is more price elastic in this case, and the individuals demand curve, they have less elasticity than this. It is evident because there are more people in this group, that is the whole market of the consumers, and people are now following the bandwagon effect, and if the price falls, they will be going for that certain commodity because of the bandwagon effect. The attraction is higher towards this certain commodity or the service or the experience. So this was the first demand curve. There was point A with these vertices Q1 and P1, which were 2,100. This was the first incidence that we observed. And then D1 had another point, that is point B, where the price decreased from 100 to 80. So this is the reason, price decline and movement from point A to point B on the same demand curve, that is D1. Then D2 was there, the other group of individuals. Point C was the point that we considered, with output 4,080 as the price of that output which was demanded by these people. Now this was due to the bandwagon effect, because people in this pattern of demand, they were enticed by the increased demand in the first pattern of the demand, that is people in the D1 group, and the movement was from point B to C. And then in the same group, if the price declined from 80 to 60, the price definitely is declining here, and the movement was from C to D point on the same demand curve. Here we have the third demand curve, which shows that people are becoming influenced by the bandwagon effect, and the movement is from point D to point E, from demand curve D2 to demand curve D3, and the price was the same, but the demand was increased because another group was getting affected. So this is the summary of all of these points that we have in this diagram. Another thing that we should focus on is the composition of the whole effect. The overall effect from point C to point E is whole effect. We can dissect it to see that how much bandwagon has affected this thing. On the same demand curve, that is D2, we have C point and D point, that is 4,000 and 5,500 of the quantity demanded. Now these 2 points are due to the decline in price from 80 to 60. So this is 1500. This is purely due to the decline in price, whereas the movement from D to E, that is from 5,500 to 8,000, is purely due to the bandwagon effect, because another group which is in D3 demand curve is being attracted towards this trend, that is the trend observed in D2. So this change from this demand curve to another demand curve is not due to price, it is due to the bandwagon effect, which is equal to 2500. So whole of it is the overall effect, whereas we have decomposed it. Pure effect versus bandwagon effect is something we can see here in this diagram. Now we know that there is another possibility of the network externality, and that is known as Snob effect. And we can the Snob effect is basically about those people who have a sense of superiority in them due to the exclusivity in their consumption patterns. So as the name goes, it is going to be an opposite phenomenon of the bandwagon effect, because we just saw that bandwagon effect is the trend that the usual masses follow. Now these people, they have a taste for exclusivity, they do not follow what is the trend, and they have their own liking, and they have a sense of superiority as well. In this case, the demand curve for the market will become steeper, whereas it was flatter in case of the bandwagon effect. Since it is an opposite phenomenon, it is now steeper, and the elasticity of price will be now less, and there will be less effect of the changes in the prices. So the phenomenon is definitely opposite in its true sense of the word. And now we are going to consider various instances of points that are going to guide us. There is, let us focus on this diagram. There is this first demand curve, the second group, the demand curve for the third group, and the demand for the market or market demand curve is steeper, as we have already studied. Now why it is steeper, let us see. Let us start with this point A, which shows that we have 60,000 as the price and 10 as the quantity demanded. You can see a stark difference between this diagram and the diagram that we just made before for the bandwagon effect. In this you can see the price is quite low as compared to what we are seeing in the Snob effect. Here the prices are in thousands and hundred thousands as well, whereas in the bandwagon effect the price was at max 100, and the quantity demanded was quite high, that is 8,000 was one of the examples, whereas here the quantity demanded is at max just 10. So it shows you the phenomenon of the Snob effect, because here the people are demanding for those goods that are rare and that are not demanding much. One of the reasons can be that the price is quite high. So this is the essence of the Snob effect. So we start with first group of the people having these preferences D1, and if this is the point we choose at which the price is 60,000, the demand is likely to be high, that is at 10. But if the price decreases, that is if it increases, that is if it reaches 1 lakh, that is 100,000, it can for example rest at point B, which gives us this quantity demanded, which is 3, which makes sense because the good, it got more expensive, and that's why the demand declined from 10 to 3. Now this thing, that is the incidence of point B, attracts other people who have their own preferences, that is they are also Snob attracted people, because there are less consumers now as compared to 10. There are only 3 consumers at this higher price. These people will be attracted, and they would also like to adopt this pattern, which is adopted by less people, that is less people are there demanding lesser of its quantity demanded. So the incidence can be at this point, because this is the price which is fixed at this moment, that is 100,000. So this point merges here, meets the demand curve, that is T2 here. It means that these people will be able to buy 8 units of this. Now if I consider an increase in the price, for example from 100,000 to 200,000, this will be the point at D2 curve, which is showing us that there will be no demand, that is the quantity demanded will be 0. In other words, this is the y-intercept or price intercept in this case. Now these people will surrender, but there are some people who are even more under the influence of Snob effect. Therefore they will come into this situation and they will demand as per their preferences, and this can happen at point D, and you can see that 5 is that level where they are going to settle their quantity demanded. So the most snob people are now here demanding for this certain good at the highest price, which is under consideration in this case, and it is 200,000, and 5 units is something that they would demand in this situation. You can pause the video and you can view this postulated paragraph in which we have discussed all those points that are there in a very short and comprehensive way. So what we see is that Snob effect is prevailing, and the demand curve for the whole market is now steeper, because in this case price is not likely to affect the outcome much. It will have influence, but this influence will be limited because of the nature of the Snob effect people who are desirous to have exclusive goods and services and experiences that are not possessed by others. Therefore they are not inclined or influenced much by the prices, and therefore the market demand curve is a little bit more price inelastic as compared to the demand curve in the bandwagon effect. So this is more of price inelastic. And if we break down its overall effect, the overall effect is this much, because when we observe the phenomenon of price change from 60,000 to 100,000, the movement is from point A till point B, and on x-axis the movement is from 10 till 3. So this makes it the pure effect. Now we can consider the snob effect, which is from point B to point C, because this is the other group of people, that is people under the pattern D2, and these people will be entering into this demand and they will be accepting the price of 100,000. So from point B and C we have 3 and 8. So this is the Snob effect that we just measured under the point B and point C. So here the pure effect is overall, and out of this there is Snob effect which is cancelling it because it is in the reverse direction, which is different from the situation that we observed in the bandwagon effect, where both of them were composing the whole effect. Here the whole effect, that is the price effect, is having one part of it as the Snob effect and the remaining is there. So this is how we can decompose the Snob effect, which is one of the network externalities which is actually negative in nature. So both of the network externalities have been incorporated into these demand curves for the market, and we have understood their diagrams as well and also their dynamics with the help of these postulates. So this was the topic where we considered the demand, the market demand, and we considered the possibility of the network externalities, that are bandwagon effect and Snob effect. Thank you.